Welcome, everybody, to this edition, episode 6 of Tuning In with Bob Lancer. And
Greg Nielsen.
now I
I
realize
don't know why. I don't know why every time I say my name I laugh, but
it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh
that's
too.
just how I am. By
Oh, I
the way,
realize
before I forget,
it,
it must be around your birthday, right? Is it happy
yes,
birthday
yes,
time
yes,
yet?
it
Did you
was my
have
birthday.
it?
Yesterday was my birthday. Yes.
Okay, I knew it was right around now. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I realized in our last episode, I neglected to read from Isidore's work to start off the show. So
Well,
what I'd
we'll
like to
have to
do,
eliminate that.
well, what I'd like to do is read
Yes.
from one of his poems to start our show off. Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
I'm going to do it at random. I have no idea
Okay.
what to read.
Yeah.
And this one is called Star Seed 1.
Mm-hmm.
Seeds of the infinite, flowing, growing, star spore spirals into eternal knowing, sparks of flame to burst into light, to cleanse the dark of the chaos night. Living atoms of light, love, power, group into molecules to form the hour that tolls unknown, to build the plan, to transmute the person into more than man. The seed, a photon from the inner sky, the soil, a heart, painfully birthing the true I, to awaken after eons to conscious might, a sun god, point radiance in the logos light. The inner urge and muffled power to pierce the prison of the ego's tower, links of light, a conscious stream, to water and nourish the infinite's dream. The hour, the power, the thought must blend to answer soul need and imbalance end. We are poised or poisoned. In no other way can the shining one enter in our heart, make his stay. And that, of course, is by Isidore Friedman, whose wisdom teaching this show is all about, who was
Mm-hmm.
our personal wisdom mentor, our actual wisdom teacher that we had in the flesh, sharing the wisdom of organics with us.
Oh, yeah.
So what is that little poem? Does that inspire any thoughts from you?
It basically, in a very, what would be almost like an archetypal way, describes the journey of a person who would like to awaken and be more aligned with their true self.
Mhm.
And there's so many ways you can put that. He put it way better than I did, but to me, it signals the opportunity and to keep doing that, to inspire me to keep going, and to know that some of that is very accurate because I've experienced those things along the way
Mhm.
in my own way, and find it very accurate and true. As you become more conscious and you become more oriented toward practical functioning day to day, you align yourself with a different vibration, a different frequency, and it actually does go through different levels of awakening, in my experience anyway. How about you, Bob?
Well, it's so practical when he says, just a simple line like you're poised or poisoned.
Yeah.
I find that in any situation, when I lose that emotional equipoise,
Mm.
I become unbalanced, I become confused, I become anxious, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just chaos ensues.
Hmm.
When I get back into that place of poise, now I can sort of tune into, what would be a harmonious outcome here? What is the situation? What are the coordinates? What is it that I'd like to accomplish? What's the first
Hmm.
step toward going there? When you lose your, Isidore used to talk about, he used to quote, he said, the ancient Greek saying, unbalanced forces perish in the
Ah.
void. Remember that?
Hmm. Oh, yeah, of course. That
Yeah.
was repeated often. And of course, it's very accurate if you start to apply it to yourself. When you are unbalanced, you basically create your own kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know, soup of negativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you're unbalanced in a positive way, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
overly excited, overly enthused,
Hmm.
overly positively charged, the reasoning goes off, the ability to make decent choices goes off. In other
Yeah.
words, chaos ensues.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you brought up about the positive, because that was one of the lessons I was going through, like say around 2012. Uh, I was so positive and enjoying myself so much that I would tend to overdo it.
Mm.
Ended up getting a blood clot in my right leg.
Mm.
That was a warning because even getting really walking around feeling really positive energy, I'm not overly positive, but just always on the go, feeling great. This is wonderful. I'm so excited instead of just really alternating consciously,
Oh,
even when it's positive.
yep,
Sometimes I'd ride that wave of positivity because it felt so good
yep,
that I would go too far in that direction.
yeah,
So
yeah. Nature doesn't like extremes.
no. So I've
That's
learned over time to go, even when it's a good thing, it's can be a bad thing eventually
right. That's
by
right.
just
That's right.
being too gung ho.
Yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah.
just like that simple practice of no matter what you're facing, maintain that state of equipoise. No
Yeah.
matter, people get overwhelmed. Just get back into that place of peace, place of equipoise, and deal with the situation from there. And you can do it, as Isidore would say, you can do it, you can function sanely.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. One
Definitely.
of the things that you brought up in previous episodes that I want to explore a little bit
Oh, yeah.
was the whole idea. You have said that what really appealed to you about Isidore's teachings was its functionality,
Yeah.
functional. And the more I engage in this process of my own transmutation and supporting other people and doing the same, I'm finding like you don't even need the word spiritual. It's all about functional. Like, how
Functional.
do I respond to this in a functional, constructive, intelligent, effective way?
Hmm.
That's what organic seems to give us, kind of the rules of how to function in
Yeah.
whatever situation you're in, how to be functional instead of dysfunctional or malfunctional.
Hmm. And of course, we talked about some of the ways that you do that. First of all, you have to have a certain degree of awareness. You have to be willing to be in the moment. There's a lot of ways you can put that verbally,
Mhm,
but you have to bring back what you just said to your center.
mhm,
And then you start to look at, the STEM universe, space, time, energy, matter. You feel and know the energy that you're feeling. You're noticing the energy that you're around. How do you adjust to the energy? Do you reduce the energy? Do you increase the energy? Do you back off completely? You get out of that situation until you recharge your battery enough to handle that type of situation. So that's all functional. So when you stay with the functional part, I find, and actually, I think it's not only on this level. Once you have these skills, it's my belief that whatever level you're on, these are basic skills that you can apply.
Okay, so let's look at some of the basic skills
Hmm.
for being functional. You mentioned one, which is
Hmm.
practicing being aware.
Yeah.
So you have on your Patreon site, you have, what is it, like 25 notebooks of Isidore's writing?
Yes. I think it's
Um,
25. Yeah.
I think 25. My favorite, my personal
Hmm.
favorite is notebook number 10.
Yes. I actually I brought it out again to look at in my computer after you mentioned that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the closest thing when I reread that, it's the closest thing to being with Isidore because
Hmm.
it's so clear about just that bare attention, satipatthana,
Hmm.
just paying attention, noticing what's going on inside of you, making it a conscious experience, what's going on inside of you, what's going on around you. And then, at some point, I'd like us to talk about how there really is nothing around us. Like whatever appears to be around us, that's a first order abstraction, right?
Right.
It's actually happening inside of our brain, inside of our
Hmm.
mind, inside of our conscious. There really is no outer that we're
Hmm.
aware of, right?
Right. Right.
So the practice of paying, just actually deliberately paying attention to what
Hmm.
you're saying, to what you're doing, to what you're feeling, to what you're thinking, to where you are, to how the people around you are, to how you're impacting the people around you,
Uh-huh.
right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and to make that choice is quite an interesting choice because most everything around us says that's not important. It's not of value to be in the moment, to be bare attention, to be in a state of mindfulness, to be in a state of immediate awareness in the now, whatever way you want to word it. But actually the function of doing it is a ongoing self-discipline.
Hmm.
Even when you don't want to, you do it.
Yeah. Even when you're in pain. Yeah.
Yeah, you just go, okay, pay attention, bare
Yeah.
attention, good, bad, indifferent, neutral,
Just
in the
notice.
most mundane situations.
Mm-hmm.
If you only think you're going to do it during a short meditation, it's a nice start. It's a starter button,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really the consistency of bare attention without tension,
Mm-hmm.
24/7.
Yeah. Every
And
waking
even
moment.
as you sleep, you're
Mm-hmm.
in bare attention because you do practice it during the day, so your bare attention actually carries over into the sleep cycle, especially if you're not overexhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from my
Yeah.
experience.
And you mentioned that most people don't value that. Um,
No.
Isidore described it as the primary value of most people is the bed, the belly, and running around. Remember that one? Have you heard that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. The
That's
bed, the
funny.
belly, and running around,
Yeah.
rather than the incredibly high value of
Hmm.
being attentive. Like if you look at any mistake you've ever made, it was because of a lack of attention,
Oh yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
knowing what do we have to pay attention to? We have to pay attention to the thoughts. We don't want thoughts to ramble through without us really noticing what I'm thinking
Hmm.
about, because
Yeah.
those will tend to get negative.
Oh
And then
yeah.
start to find myself in an emotionally negative state,
Your
negative vibration.
energy follows attention, so that's where you're going to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then manifestation follows the energy. You start manifesting all kinds of difficulties and
Mhm.
problems.
And then you start blaming somebody else, or you blame some other situation, or woe's be me. I
Yeah,
must be the victim now.
yeah,
I didn't really do anything.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
nice person.
yeah. I remember having a conversation with someone who accidentally uh, killed their fish. You know, they
Hmm.
they weren't paying
Oops.
attention, and they
Yeah.
fed the fish the cleaning fluid instead of the fish food.
Yeah,
And
that's
yeah, it was very sad for them.
yeah.
Even probably a little worse for the fish. But he said, why would God do that? Why would God do that? Why would God kill my
Well,
fish?
because it's God's fault, of course.
And I said, because you just weren't paying attention.
Exactly. Yeah, because
Right?
you
And,
weren't paying
and that's the
attention.
lesson. And if you don't respond, if you don't take responsibility for your attentiveness, then what happens? It just starts. You start having to face bigger costs.
Yeah. And that goes back to, okay, I paid a bigger cost because I ended up having a blood clot.
Mhm. Right, right.
And then it became obvious that I have to make an adjustment.
Yeah,
It becomes overly obvious.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
of course I did, and I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Mhm.
You try to not get to the point where it's a major event, if possible. Occasionally you're going to come into something where, oh, I just didn't pay attention. I had a belief I wasn't aware of, or some degree of unconsciousness that you just hadn't come up with that much yet. So you're always finding I always, at least in my case, new levels, uh, new opportunities to actually be conscious that you weren't aware of before. And there's levels even to the thing you've seen already
Yes,
and you're not
yes.
conscious of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Isidore would talk about a great everything happens in like a gradient scale.
Yeah.
And I think it was Korzybski who would talk about the founder of General Semantics, which was a
Hmm.
big part of Isidore's teaching,
Yeah.
would talk about everything begins on a submicroscopic level.
Yeah.
Nothing just happens. It
No.
happens by degrees. And the
Hmm.
more attentive you are, the more you see what's coming, and
Yeah.
you can make those adjustments to like a subtle touch instead of
Hmm.
a hammer over the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of one of the things I look at sometimes lately is when I'm even driving, I have habits from the past where I can get hostility when I'm driving, like someone doesn't put their blinker on. I
Mhm,
get like a micro reaction
mhm.
of anger.
Right.
In the past, well, what's that? So that's just normal. No, not just normal.
Right.
I can let that go.
It's actually
It can be in
abnormal.
the moment. And
It's actually scary. Yeah.
next time I see a blinker go, I'm not triggered.
Right. Right. I
I
remember
mean,
once.
even, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Well, I remember
Uh,
one time in a heavy traffic situation, there was an irate driver screaming
mhm.
at different drivers saying, "You're so stupid." And there was a part of me that wanted to say, "Do you realize how stupid it is for you to be screaming like this? You're
Yeah.
making this so important. You're giving it so much energy, so much attention. Of
Yeah.
course, you can't pay your bills. You
Yeah.
know, of course you're
Yeah.
frustrated. Of course, your marriage is falling apart. Of course, you're getting ill, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're putting so much energy into just an automatic reaction, you're losing touch with your priorities. You're not
Yeah.
able to direct the energy where you want it to go most.
I like your point about just detecting things early on
Yep.
by being conscious on a very more sensitive level, you could say. I mean, when you get that aware, you actually pick it up like a gentle breeze going by. You go, oh, wait a minute, it's a touch of the heat there, a little bit of anger, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of fear, a little bit of whatever,
Mhm.
and you pay attention to it right then and just observe it and notice it, be in bare attention or mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, and just notice what's happening.
Yeah,
Not really, you don't want to overanalyze. You just notice it to start with. Yeah.
you can drop
Yep.
it before it grabs you.
There you go. Get it
Right.
early on before it grabs you.
Right.
I know one thing I sent an email to you about having to do with picking up on vibrations or energies.
Mhm.
And both Isidore and Vitvan talked about what's called the rapport,
Yes.
being in alignment or sympathetic vibration. And when I first heard this, it didn't really record with me much. I thought, what? I could be somewhere and I'm picking up a vibe from something. I mean, I was in that objective identification phase of just being sensory aware, not realizing there's other things going on.
Uh-huh.
And over the years, I've learned that you can be in a situation and you can feel, I guess, how am I going to put the word? Yeah, because you could say negative energy or unfortunate energy on different parts of your anatomy. It could be
Mhm.
behind the neck, it can be in the forehead, it could be the throat, the heart, the stomach,
Mhm.
and so on.
Mhm.
And so as you become more sensitive and more energy aware, you have to navigate these.
Mhm.
So it's kind of tricky because you also don't want to go like, if something physiologically is wrong with you or off with you, you have to pay attention. Because I know when I was getting sharp pains by my hip several years ago. Well, I thought, oh, I must be getting like a sympathetic vibration in my hip.
Mm.
Maybe I'll just do some rhythmic breathing was one technique. Let it go. You can do a touch and let go. You can just pay attention and not give it more value, more energy. There's a lot of different methods you can use to let go. Well, I did those and it was still there.
Mm.
And I said, well, you have to know the difference between a real physiological issue and a rapport,
Mhm.
sympathetic vibration that you're recording.
Mhm.
So it turned out, I said, let me go check it out. It turned out I had to have a hip replacement. It was a good thing I did that. The guy did a great job,
Yeah,
and I didn't.
you seem a lot more hip than you used to be.
Well, I was a hippie at one time, but
Oh, boy, we're gonna
but it
keep.
wasn't bald then.
Right, right.
But
So yeah, but
yeah, so
sometimes those two things can converge. A report can
yes,
actually turn
yeah,
into a physical
exact,
malady.
exactly. That's why I said the word tricky. You have
Mhm.
to get to know yourself and how you are with it. Putting it into verbal language like I'm trying to do here, it can be a little bit of a challenge because everyone's individual and how they can experience that. But I just thought I should say something to those who are more energy sensitive. So sometimes they're called empathic type people.
Mhm.
They can pick these things up and they don't have to really, they can even be born that way sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have to learn how to handle this energy and realize they can let it go.
Well, I know Vitvan would give the example of babies who would develop colic because
Mm,
of discord in the home.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Right? It wasn't like a physiological issue. It was because of the discord in the home.
Hmm.
So you can have a rapport, uh, which basically means like you're vibrating similarly to how someone else is vibrating.
Hmm. Right.
And so
Yeah.
you can be in rapport with someone on the other side of the world if they're like
Hmm.
a relative. You
Yeah.
know, twins often experience something like that, where
Hmm.
one twin in let's say France will burn his finger, and the twin in Canada will find a little thing
Uh-huh.
right where the same thing happened.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
know this stuff is scientific,
It is. Yeah.
and then once you understand rapport, it gives you some more like another tool to work with because if you recognize the vibration, the attitude, the state of another person, you can be more avoidant of it. You don't just
Yeah.
automatically absorb it. You can give yourself some physical or psychological distance from that individual rather than if you're not careful, there's even these techniques that high-powered salesmen do where they'll mimic you, like
Hmm.
you're sitting
Hmm.
like this, they'll sit like this. to
Yeah.
establish that rapport so that
Hmm.
they can start to influence you with their thoughts and their feelings. It's a
Hmm.
deliberate process that people go through. Isidore used to call that black magic.
Yeah. 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 It's something that as you become more, I call it an energy being, or, just somebody more aware, you're going to experience these things. It seems like a conscious energy actually activates more sensitive energy.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when you decide to be in awareness more and more and more, there's a natural progression to more sensitivity to the vibrations around you. That's what I notice. I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yes, I would agree.
And so you make a transition from someone who might be more unconscious, and you sometimes don't even notice or feel that easily. You may
Mhm,
be feeling it, but you're not aware of
mhm,
it.
mhm.
I've had situations where I said, "Did you notice how that felt?" They
Right.
look at me like, "No, I didn't feel anything."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, this takes us back to the value of bare attention, of practicing
Mhm.
being aware, because one of the positive things that happens when we're more aware and more sensitive to what we're picking up, what we're feeling, you can start to awaken to higher vibration,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
higher guidance, higher light rays, coming
Hmm.
in to lift you up and to lead you and to inspire you. And then you become a channel for what Isidore used to call the higher ordering forces.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can recognize a higher ordering force moving through you. You can tune into a higher ordering force rather than just getting all caught up in the bed, the belly, and running around.
Hmm.
Then the only thing that drives you are those lower forces, right? And you can't,
Right.
and if you spend too much time in those lower forces, you lose that sensitivity to the higher
Hmm.
realm. And
Yes.
the higher realm is what gives us a vision of beauty, a beautiful
Hmm.
outcome, a beautiful way of proceeding to create what we want in life, a beautiful way of creating a relationship. If you function too much in the lower energies, you can't sense that. You lose
Mm-mm.
the capacity to create a beautiful relationship. And then
Yeah.
you find yourself with harsh people and harsh circumstances.
Hmm. And of course, then your thinking goes along with, well, look what happened to me. Look at the bad things. Life is woe me. Life
Yeah.
is negative. Life is bad. Life is pain. Life is suffering. You start to activate more of those kind of beliefs. And I think you really brought up to me one of the main reasons ultimately for choosing to be conscious as much as you possibly can, because you do experience higher vibrations. You can call them whatever you want, but you can feel them.
Yeah.
There's not even a doubt. I mean, so you
Right.
can test this for yourself. Give
Peace,
yourself,
harmony, love. Yeah.
yeah, give yourself 30 days of being as conscious as you can every day, as much as you can. Almost guarantee that you're going to go, whoa, I'm feeling so much calmer at times. I'm feeling so much more relaxed. I'm actually experiencing more joy and happiness
That's right.
because those vibrations, you're going to be sensing them. And they're very natural, very healthy,
Yep.
very aligning
And
vibrations.
it's so wonderful to
Yeah,
raise a child from early on in the early childhood
yeah.
and and nurture that child on harmonious vibration,
Hmm.
which allows the child's sensitivity to develop. And
Yeah,
then, when that sensitivity develops, they can't really be cruel or malicious or
no,
addictive or destructive, because there's something higher that's guiding them. There's this beautiful sense of creating a beautiful work of art, a beautiful piece of music, a beautiful environment, a beautiful relationship.
well, you're describing my granddaughter right now because she's 9 months old, and I swear she's already manifesting this beautiful life. Her parents are very attentive. They're very loving. She has a nanny who is just absolute gold. She's like a goddess from another dimension, just sweet and organized and loving, like a super mother figure. The building, the house they live in is absolutely adorable. The room, the clothing, the kind of food that they're giving her. I mean, it's like
Did they have an extra room?
they
Like
do.
to
And
move.
when I come, I stay there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about how that happens. Like, how do you
Yeah.
manifest a beautiful home? How do you manifest a wonderful conscious nanny? You know,
Hmm.
how do we create that stuff? Well, we create that stuff from vibration,
Yeah.
right? If you live in a harmonious way, you start manifesting harmonious circumstances. If you live in a gruff, harsh, forceful way, you
Yeah.
just keep
Hmm.
manifesting like angry neighbors and
Oh
angry
yeah.
trees that fall in your house and all kinds of.
Hmm. Yeah, well, and of course, I give credit to her parents for being such lovely people. And of course, I give credit to her name is Isla, because as a being herself, she has these, you can see there's these traits are part of who she is already, authentically coming from another dimension, you could say, and bringing this in. Because if you look at some of the circumstances of how these things came together, you go, wow, that is just awesome. How did you attract that nanny like that? I mean, that's just like gold. She could have worked for someone else for more money, but she liked you guys better because she liked Isla.
Yeah.
Energetically, she felt the connection. Yeah.
And they call that luck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's called luck, but there's actually a science to good luck.
Mhm. Because I know she asked them and she said, well, how do you feel if I have something comes up and I have to make an adjustment in my schedule? Oh, well, we'll work with you. No problem. Because they know, hey, you got to be give and take. And you work with us, we'll work with you. And she said, perfect. So, and sometimes she brings her son over. He's ninth, I think he's 9 years old. No problem. Bring him over anytime.
Right.
Whereas the other people go, nah, we don't really want another kid around.
Right. Because they might be operating from their mind instead
Yep.
of sensing what is the harmonious condition here.
Hmm.
Isidore had a book, I think it's in his wisdom book, which I'll be mailing off to you
Oh,
tomorrow.
thank you.
And it was a little article called Anatomy of Chaos.
I think I have a copy of that maybe in on Patreon because a lot of it's typed up material I put up there. Yeah,
I think you do have it there.
I think it's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to
Yes.
cut you off
So
there.
there's an anatomy of chaos,
Oh yeah.
anatomy of order,
Hmm.
right? When enough people are functioning in a chaotic manner, it starts to bring chaos into the neighborhood, chaos into the city, into the state, and it starts to
Hmm.
spread. Well, on the other hand, if we focus on the anatomy of order, right? So how is it that we turn a chaotic situation into an orderly situation? And I think Isidore used to say something to the effect of the way to bring order out of chaos is in an orderly way, right?
Yeah,
Instead of, oh,
exactly.
we got to fix this, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and of course, relative to what I do, if I notice this, I slow down or whatever, take a breath,
Mhm.
pause, take a minute, walk around the block, pay attention to the moment, enjoy the sun, the air, the beautiful items around you, play a little music, just to get quick, what do you call it? Quick start, I guess you could say, or
Mhm.
jump start, a
Mhm.
shift toward order. It's not that difficult. If you'll take a first couple of little mini steps, it starts to move toward order. And then you can look at
Settling down.
a blueprint of, hey, how about this, this, and this? And I can let that go.
But
I don't need to identify with that.
one of the things that I noticed in my own process is um, whenever I feel like I'm about to do something to just get it done,
Oh,
I stop and I say, okay, let me really pay attention to how I'm doing it,
hmm.
present in how I'm doing it. Let me notice how I'm doing it. Let me look for like a more skillful, efficient way of doing it, no matter
Yeah,
how simple the task is. And that helps me to go into a place of order.
me too. Yeah, because I do get caught up from time to time. Well, I got to just get that done.
Right,
Another 5 minutes, I'll have it done. Let me rush.
right.
If I
Push.
catch it, I'll stop and go,
Right.
is it really that important? Not really. 90, at least 90% of the time, it's not that important.
And
I can
then
wait a while.
And then if we get back into the topic of rapport, once
Hmm.
you start rushing around in a chaotic manner, now you're in rapport with everybody else who's doing that. And it
Hmm.
kind of compounds the chaos of your state and
Yeah.
compounds the chaos of the circumstances you're trying to navigate through or the circumstances you're manifesting,
Hmm.
getting into rapport with. And the same token, as we settle down and practice being more aware and tuning into a feeling of order and harmony and peace in the now we're getting in harmony with higher beings,
Yeah,
right? Now you
definitely.
can get in rapport with a higher level being, a higher level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts to flow through you and you start to get higher knowledge, higher knowing.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you just guided, just guided into beauty.
And hey, I'm going along with that. Everybody has to have their own practice, but my habitual practice for the most part in a positive way is when I get up in the morning, usually I meditate almost every single morning. Meditation to me means what you just talked about. Pausing, being quiet, noticing my thoughts, letting go of thoughts that I don't really want to go with because it makes no sense. I don't have to go there. Enjoying the moment, being present with a cup of coffee or tea. And then I start to feel these vibrations and I go, this is amazing. I mean, this is wonderful. This is a joy.
Well, it's like you don't need to go anywhere.
No. And what you need to do actually comes to you. I mean, what seems to be a priority for now at a natural pace, not a rush pace, but at a natural pace. Sometimes it's like, oh, wow, I haven't thought of that. And then you go do it and boom, things just open.
Right, right.
The doors open. Yeah.
Yeah, Isidore has used to say that you can tell the level of a being by their ability to be completely content and fulfilled when nothing particular is happening.
I know, Bob, this is going to sound really, I actually enjoy it when nothing's happening.
Yeah, yeah, that becomes
What are
that
you going to do
becomes
today? Nothing.
yeah,
What does
yeah,
that mean? I don't really know until it happens. So
that's right. Yeah, we just came back. There was spring break, and we came back from the beach. We spent
yeah,
about 4 or 5 days at the beach.
wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, and all I could do was be at the beach. Like,
Yeah.
oh, let's go to this shell museum and let's go, let's go. They have this thing on turtles, it was on,
Hmm.
and it's like I just couldn't go. I
I
couldn't.
understand.
I was just like rooted right
Hmm.
there, me, the sand, the ocean, and I was there. Like going someplace to have something exciting happening would have been a loss.
I guess I could throw out another story along those same lines because I've had similar experiences where I went to study Spanish in Spain, in Madrid, and which was wonderful. They had me with a family, a couple, beautiful home, beautiful apartment in the middle of Madrid. Had my own room even. I was very fortunate. I had my own little wing with a bathroom and everything. And then one day, about several weeks into this, I was going to school at the time, and the gentleman there said, "Well, you don't really go out and take a look at anything. I mean, don't you want to go to a museum, or don't you want? I could walk you down to this big park about 6 blocks away. You might enjoy it." In other words, he thought, "Well, am I really enjoying myself? Yes, I love that room I had. I went back and meditated and took a nap, a siesta, and I didn't really want to do a lot.
Mhm.
I wasn't in that phase in my life where I need to run around and do it. Izzy said about the belly and
Yeah, the
yeah.
bed, the belly, and running
It,
around.
to me, just like, okay, I'm busy. I had a nice day. I'm going to take a little siesta. I'm going to be quiet, do my little bit of reading.
Mhm.
And
So
he's worried.
it's like being guided by your feelings
Yeah.
toward right state.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I have a bit of a cough. That's why I keep putting on a mute and
Yeah.
coughing. Uh,
Hmm.
and I don't know if it's from the pollen or if it's something else, but we're in spring right now in Georgia where I am,
Yeah.
lots of pollen.
Yeah.
And what I notice is when any kind of physical condition is happening, it's an opportunity to function even more consciously.
Hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
notice if I stay more relaxed, right, and I watch my voice tone, I watch the intensity of my voice, I have less of a tendency to start to choke up and cough.
Hmm. There you go.
And
Yeah.
so when these things happen to us, they're kind of just saying, now is the time to become more conscious. It's not a crisis. It's
No.
just
Yeah.
to become
Exactly.
more conscious and
Sure.
work within the limitations of Saturn, right? Work within that Saturnine energy.
Hey, whatever's happening, this is what is for you to deal with and learn from. And it's, you just, you stick with the basics and it becomes like a very healthy habit, even in the most difficult situations, even when you're feeling a little bit off physiologically, whether it's a cold, a sore throat, a little minor illness, you go, okay, how can I be present with this and not
Or,
have too many
or, or
not have too many
functional.
negative opinions about it.
No opinions, right? Yeah, just
Yeah.
to try to be functional with it. How do I
Hmm.
work with it,
Yeah.
instead against it? If I work against it, it gets more severe.
Hmm.
Um, Switching gears a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the biggest focuses in the set of notebooks I have gone through with Isidore um, was a strong emphasis on what he would call conscious speech,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Just
Conscious speech.
so,
Hmm.
maybe you can speak consciously a little bit about conscious speech for us.
Again, I'm just going off the cuff. But I'm just noticing from my own experience when I was more selective and wise in what I was going to say. And oftentimes there's another person involved. Do I really want to say that? I mean, how is that going to affect them? How's it going to affect me? Do I have any meaning behind what I'm saying? And is the timing of what I'm going to say wise and accurate and beneficial? Because
Functional.
functional. Because sometimes you can be very timely with your speech if you're speaking consciously.
Hmm.
If you're just going off on a rant,
Hmm.
I had phases in my life where if something happened, I had to go call all my friends and tell them what happened. It made it worse,
Hmm.
but I thought I was justifying it because it made me feel I was right.
So how does that kind of unconscious speech, let's say speaking about some problem or challenge or
Mm.
difficulty and calling everybody and talking about that, how is that a deficit? How is that problematic?
Well, you're duplicating the vibration over and over again, and you're actually reinforcing it within your own aura, psyche, whatever you want to call it, your state. And you're not really working through it. You're using unconscious speech to actually draw in more, I'll call it negative energy or energy that's not going to really be conducive to being happy, joyful,
You're
compassionate.
magnifying it.
Yeah, you magnify it exactly.
Every
And
person, every person you talk to, now they're resonating to it, and now the
and then
next person, and everybody's thinking about how horrible it is,
oh
and
yeah,
can find the functional path through it because they're so busy opinionating about it.
then they usually have to tell me theirs because
Right, right,
their
right,
most recent one.
right.
I know my son and I are both into not really talking about a lot of heavy duty things that go down. And he has a very responsible job where he could spend, I mean, he won't be able to sleep with the problems that, quote, problems that can come up. So he just lets them go. I can't solve it right now. So
Mhm.
anyway, so sometimes he'll say, well, how's everything going? I said, well, I'll give you the short version of a story. I'd rather not go into it because I'm just going to reinforce it and you do the same thing. So if it was really important, I would give you more. I'll give you a little bit. And then we drop it and move on
Uh-huh.
because he's concerned, so he
Uh-huh.
wants to know.
Sure.
But when we do that, we start laughing because like, okay, good. Why do we even say anything? We just don't say half the time unless it's absolutely necessary. Yeah.
So we can almost simplify it and say whatever you talk about, you magnify.
Oh yeah. Whatever you talk about, you magnify. And this gets back to general semantics
Okay.
because when you become more aware of the words and what they can mean or not mean, it makes a difference. You actually become more conscious about what you're saying and what you're hearing from other people. Quite
Hmm.
often I'll be in a situation where I hear someone talking, maybe they're talking with me or someone near me. There's nothing being said, literally. I mean, it's just noise.
Hmm. Yeah.
And some people call it bullshit. And some people are good at that too. They're excellent bullshit artists. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and sometimes as a student back a few years ago, they start giving me some kind of like blah, blah, blah. I go, I'm just going to be honest. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit right there. So, but you
Hmm.
want to go ahead and say it. I'll listen for a minute. So,
Word noises.
yeah, they're word noises.
Word
But when,
noises.
when you do take the time to look at general semantics, which Van emphasized, his son actually brought him the book at one point. I think his
Hmm.
son became a doctor, found the book and gave it to him, uh, Science and Sanity. And of course, Izzy is a core part of his teaching. It
Absolutely.
does alter how your brain, mind, psyche, emotion uses and sees and feels words.
Hmm.
They begin to not actually have that much meaning, partly, unless there's something that's really referring to. Like I really enjoy having that like sip of water.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm talking about something that just happened. But if I go like, I imagine that I had this water and I think it went through my right ear, and
Right.
that's how I drink.
Right. Right.
So then you're
The, the,
making
it's the training in general semantics makes
yeah.
it real easy to distinguish on an experiential level the difference
Mm,
between I just took a drink of water, the
mm,
statement, and the
mhm.
actual experience of drinking the water.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Totally
Yeah,
different levels of experience.
yeah, the map is not the territory. So if I'm going to drive across Nevada, all the way toward the east, all out to Baker, Nevada, where the Van School is out there,
Mhm.
talking about it and looking at the map are totally, I mean, okay, they can give you some possible blueprints,
Mhm.
but the actual driving of the experience,
Totally different.
and each time you do it's completely different. It's
If you
similar, but
if
it's
you're present,
yeah,
if you're present.
the sky's different.
Yeah.
Uh, the herd of wild horses are on the right side of the highway instead of the left.
Mhm.
The wind is blowing more, and you're feeling the car and through the car. When you get out to get gas, you can feel the wind. Sometimes it's sunnier. It becomes an in the moment experience of doing that. And that carries over to almost anything.
Yeah.
And that brings me up to mentioning to people, because if they look at this book, Science and Sanity, when I first saw it, I don't know if you remember when I first saw it, when you first saw it, but it looked pretty tedious. I mean, it looked like a pretty good chunk to read.
Tedious. Yes.
Yeah,
Tedious.
tedious.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was it was thick. It was and it's valid. It's health. It's why. I mean, it's full of just really chunky
Mhm.
scientific and practical accuracy.
And
So
just
that's
just
why,
reading it itself, because of the structure of the
yeah,
language,
yeah.
can help you to become more conscious, because he's trying to structure language to the
Mhm.
structure of reality, the structure function order of the language itself.
I don't know who this guy Krzyzewski was, but he was obviously way out there because I mean, way in there.
Yeah, way in there.
You
Yeah.
know, very because he recognized the very structure of our language, which does a subject predicate dualistic kind of a pattern in our minds when we use vocabulary and words and sentences.
Mhm.
Actually, we start to look at things kind of a two-valued orientation, right, wrong, they, them, us,
Right.
them, and so on. That's why I tell people that get into it, maybe to take a look at this book called Taming Your Mind by Ken Keyes.
Mm.
It's a really good introductory book to general semantics, in my opinion.
It's
So
almost
if you
like
want to,
like a comic book version of
exactly, and it gives you the basic
uh-huh.
foundation without feeling too intimidating. So I
Yeah.
usually start people with this, and then they go from there. They can actually get into it pretty well there.
Yeah, one of the I think in Science and Sanity, Korzybski shares an experiment where which is sort of how words can help us to become more aware.
Oh yeah.
You hold a newspaper headline up just beyond the vision of the person, just beyond where it's a blur.
Hmm.
They can't read it. But if you tell them what it says, they can see it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
can actually use words to help you to become more aware of what is actually happening.
Yes. I mean, we have the opportunity to use them wisely as signposts and arrows. Okay. Dog.
Which
There's
dog?
one, there's one walking around the backyard right here. I
And then
mean,
Korzybski would say, like, okay, so dog. Well, there's dog A.
mhm.
That's one dog. But then also dog A in a minute is not the dog A minute ago.
No, no. And not all dogs are the same because one dog is going to look like a nice little puppy, but end up biting you because you're going to pet it like it's a nice little dog, like the last dog you met.
Yeah, yeah.
Or,
Rather
yeah,
than reading the mood of the dog in the now.
yeah.
And so when
I,
we get too caught up in words, we get more what? More unconscious.
yes, more
We
unconscious.
just expect everything to be the way it was.
I agree with you about reading the Science and Sanity book. There's something about it if you will stick with it, even if you read a page or two,
Mhm.
uh, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. It You look around and go, wow, my eyesight's actually
Yes.
changing.
Yes.
I can hear better. I can smell better.
Yep.
My mind tends to slow down. The
Mhm.
automatic thoughts going through my mind that often come in images and even words,
Mhm.
words that are have no reference or no
Mhm.
definitions really. They're just random whatever's
Mhm.
going through there. They're not as gripping. The non-identification starts to happen because he talks a lot about the is of identity
Mhm.
and the ability to let go, non-identification. And just by reading the book, you almost pick up on what the energy field that he created there
Oh yeah.
almost becomes like a cleansing of the psyche
Yeah.
of the obsession and conditioning of only words are important.
Right. And it brings us, it sort of integrates consciousness into function, into what's
Mhm.
actually going on. I know, when I'm working with people doing my coaching with them, and I'll say, well, how you doing? So, oh, it's a hard day. It's been a
Mm.
hard day. Okay. Well, that's what Korzybski would call a hard abstraction. Okay.
Oh yeah.
How was it hard? What specifically was hard about it? And they
Yeah.
say, well, I dropped my wallet down the sewer. I said, okay, why was that hard? Why was that difficult for you? What
Yeah.
made that a difficult experience for you? And then they ultimately get to the realization of, well, how I reacted to it, how I felt about it. I was
Hmm.
thinking, oh, I got to go do this and I don't have that and I'm going to lose this. So what really made it difficult was how you were functioning, how you were handling. It wasn't the sewer. It wasn't the wallet going down the sewer.
Yeah.
It's how you were dealing with it. And if you realize you're dealing with it in a way that's making you suffer by paying attention to what we would call the first order of abstraction, direct observation of experience,
Hmm.
wow, now I could apply that to all kinds of things in my life. Maybe there's no such thing as a difficult situation.
Yeah, I know I've gotten more toward this as something's quote difficult happens, and I notice it without much of a reaction or little reaction or no reaction. I almost react with a little bit of a chuckle. It's like I do. It's like the time that I grabbed the ketchup bottle from the top shelf and it fell out of my hand onto the floor, and there was ketchup everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And I went like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
And say 20 years ago, it would have been like, oh my God, I got to get the
right.
carpet wall cleaned. I got to get this. I'm going to be there. I'm going to miss my appointment. I just went, actually, that pattern on the carpet looks pretty good. It's got a
Well,
nice
yes,
red brown, kind of a blend of red and brown.
yes, 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 yes.
I know it's silly to say that, but
No,
I
it's
saved the I saved the day. The day was like, okay, whatever. From time to time, I didn't pay attention. I
okay.
could have grabbed with more consciousness, and
That's
I
right.
didn't.
That's right.
Let it go.
That's right.
And next time I bought a bottle of ketchup, I was very careful where I put it and the angle I put it in, and changed my awareness of where I placed it and how I used it and how I opened it.
And this takes us back to one of the earlier things we were talking about on today's show, which is poise. You're poised
Hmm.
or you're poisoned. So when something happens, you drop this, you break that, you lose that, they come in and they take away that. If you just maintain your poise, it's not difficult. It's
Yeah.
just information. It's just a
Hmm.
situation that you're going to now handle in an orderly, step-by-step way. If you start to catastrophize it and make it into a
Oh, I
crisis,
like that. I like that word, by the way.
yeah,
Catastrophize. Yeah.
it's a fun word. It's not a fun
Yeah.
state.
Yeah. No, like you say, you don't overreact.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's just
I
something
mean,
that what to deal with now. And then
and
whether you win the lottery or they take away your house, it's basically the same thing. It's just now it's my natural order process. I'm going to deal with this in a calm, peaceful, happy way. I'm going to tune
mhm,
into a beautiful outcome
there
instead
you
of
go. And of
moving
course,
on.
I'm sure both of us can go on and think of lots of examples, and that because of the training and the learning, actually becomes part of your daily life behavior
Mhm.
function. And you're going, okay, this is one right here. And okay, I mean, I can think of dozens are going through my mind right now. I mean,
So for,
practical examples.
for both of us,
Yeah,
interacting directly with Isidore Friedman
yeah.
was life-changing
Oh, yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
maybe the deepest level. How,
Sure.
how is it that that happened? How is it that we were
Oh,
fortunate enough to meet a true teacher that's so deep, so
yeah,
clear, so functional?
yeah. Well, I don't really have an answer for you, Bob. All I know is I'm grateful. Because there's probably a lot I don't really understand there.
Yeah.
Uh, Apparently, it's something we wanted, something we were ready for, some sort of natural process that we
Did he ever
earned.
did he ever talk to you about having worked with you in a previous life?
No, he never really brought that up. I never really asked about it. By the time I met him, I wasn't really too interested in past lives or future lives or anything like that. I'm aware that that's possible,
Hmm.
but I'm going, I got to learn how to live this one.
Right.
That's kind of where
Right.
so I have a long way to go. Once I saw how far I needed to go,
That's something that he said to me though.
yeah.
He actually
Oh,
said
okay.
to me that he's actually said to me that we worked together in ancient Egypt.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I don't
That's,
know what to make of it,
well,
sounds good.
and it's very
Uh,
possible.
but the connection, such an incredibly
Yeah.
profound connection with you can call him a spiritual teacher or a functional teacher. To
Yeah.
me is more accurate. I remember one time, I asked him, you know, what is it that you're doing? And he would say, I'm a bridge,
Oh, okay.
right? I'm a bridge to these higher levels
Hmm.
consciousness. And he would say these higher frequencies that you can tune into at peace, he would say they're so delicious.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, I
just
agree with that.
he was
Yeah.
just it's just so delicious to just sit there and be at peace and be aware of what you're feeling and how to tune into the higher
Yeah.
frequencies, the higher vibrations.
I mean, he maintained that pretty much literally all the times I've ever saw him. I mean, that was his continuous state, his
I saw
continuous
one
natural
step.
state.
I
Yeah.
saw
I mean,
I saw one
well,
step.
I mean, I could come up with a couple little
Yeah,
minor things here and there. Went out
yeah.
to a restaurant once and the cab didn't come very well and there was a problem. But he let it go. I mean, he didn't
Right.
go on for hours. I
Yeah.
mean, he was great that way.
No.
But for me, had read enough to know there was such a thing as a darshan, the auric field of a person who's attuned to a higher frequency band of energy. And that's going to radiate out. And if you're someone who's moving in that direction, you're going to start to feel it. You will feel it. And you're very fortunate to be in that environment because it sort of gives you a little bit of a vault
Mhm.
in that direction because you appreciate it, you experience it. You may not be able to sustain it like he can or other people can do,
Mhm.
but it's a real experience. So I
It's
can
a
see why people,
it's a healing experience.
exactly, healing, you walk out feeling more aligned,
Mm.
better eyesight, better hearing, happier, more joyful. You can
Yeah.
see maybe the next steps I need to take on my path of life. They
Mhm.
make more sense. Just letting go, and it's okay to let go. You don't have to obsess on thoughts or feelings or emotions.
Mhm.
And that was in his auric field, those behaviors, those functions.
Mhm.
So you almost by radiation got a little hit off that and a feeling of what's like to be like that on a day-to-day basis. And it's a motivating feeling because you go
Mhm.
like, well, it's working for him. What else can I do here? So I'm going
Yeah.
to give it a shot.
It
It
was like
wasn't that hard.
it was
Once you
like
make up your
manna from
mind,
heaven. It
pardon
was
me?
it was like manna from heaven.
Exactly. Manna from heaven. That's a
Just
good way to put it.
just to be. And then, when I would visit the School of the Natural Order in Baker,
Yeah.
Nevada, Midbrand School,
Oh, yeah.
a very particular frequency that I could feel there.
Yeah.
So beautiful, it's so
Oh,
clear.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Different than
Exactly.
Isidore's, but still something.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
called it
no.
field.
Yeah. The field. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a force field, energy field. Yeah. No, that's why I was very grateful that I could go there. We talking on a previous episode. What did I do when things got difficult? I mean, sometimes you go through a more difficult phase from time
Mhm.
to time
Well,
where
because
you may feel
you're caught up in reactions, caught up in
exactly.
PPPs, pressure
And
points of the past. You're just
you're,
stuck in
you're sort of going under. You're like, it's like crazy glue energy.
them. Hmm.
And from time to time that has happened. And then I would go to Baker, Nevada, or the School of the Natural Order. Back, I think it was 2015, I was there for a month.
Hmm.
So it was I mean, what a
Wow.
wonderful, just and the environment
Well,
and the
just stepping
people.
outside and looking at that vista. Ah,
Yeah, exactly. So I
that
know
was
I have,
yeah.
I know I have that option in my life if that starts to happen. And of course, I think I mentioned too, I was very fortunate to connect to the Zen Buddhist monastery, Shasta Abbey up in Mount Shasta, California, because a friend of mine had mentioned you can go there. And I've gone there and felt this amazing alignment
Yes.
of energy because that's what they do all day long.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's like 30, 40, 50 of these people
Mm.
doing that on a regular basis.
Right.
Doesn't take long to start to feel pretty darn good. I mean,
Mhm.
naturally speaking, you're not like high
Yeah.
as a kite. You just feel very level-headed, very calm,
Balanced, centered,
very
order.
aware,
Yeah.
and very connected and enjoying the moment
Mhm.
and becomes like a wonderful experience, which I experienced when I go to the School of the Natural Order
Well,
too.
that's what I get from that process called
Yeah,
the method.
yeah.
Uh, I
Oh,
find
yes.
no matter how traumatized I have been, going through experiences where I was just stuck in trauma, stuck in panic, stuck in fear, uh,
Hmm.
the method takes me right out of it. And if it doesn't take me out of it the first time through, it takes me out of it the second time through.
Yeah.
Going through a loss, going through a frightening change, uh,
Hmm.
starting to feel depressed or pessimistic, I would just go to this process, the method, which was given to me, and it always worked. It just took me out in this blissful, harmonious space, and I was free to start functioning in a higher level.
And I think you're bringing up how important it is to have what things like the method and
Hmm.
the things that Izzy gave us and
Hmm.
shared with us and apply them
Hmm.
So you have an experiential level with it. And the application, and when it works, it works.
Right.
And you go, wow, I can add that to my tool chest. I can draw on this whenever I need it. And it's a wonderful calming feeling to know you have these available.
Oh, well,
And
one of the things I discovered early on when I had the method was that I lost my fear of what could happen because I found through observation, self-awareness, that the only reason I was afraid of what might happen was because I was afraid of how I would feel if it happened. And once I had the method, I
yeah.
found that no matter what's happening, I can find peace.
Hmm.
I can leave my emotional suffering, right? And I can
Yes.
be
Oh,
in
yes.
a balanced, centered place and not be plagued by the thoughts in the mind.
Hmm. Yeah.
So do you think in this podcast that we're doing, I know it seemed like it was something that we decided to do, but maybe
Well,
it's being guided by some higher process. Do,
I
do you
think,
think that Isidore's energy at all,
oh,
you and I
I,
are like doing a battery. Remember the battery healings that he would
oh,
do,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
where you
Uh-huh.
sit and you hold your hands
Yeah, yeah.
of the other
Mhm.
person and you just
Yeah,
charge up like that?
yeah. Hmm.
So maybe this is just part of this lineage, this thing that's coming through. This Isidore's energy is coming through in
Yeah.
in
I,
these podcasts.
I sure hope so. I mean, that was part of our intention for sure.
Mhm.
Where, if you want to, wherever he is, if you want to put it that way, his group of people, his connection with his connection, the people that help guide him to what he learned, that's an energy field available to us, and we've been working with it for now 50 years or 40 years,
Yeah,
and so we're just sharing it. And our goal, my goal, I think our goal is to at least get it out there so people are aware of it and can have access to it.
to kind of archive it, right?
Yeah, archive it, and here it
Yeah.
is. Here's it's available. Give it a try. Give it a
And here's two people who live it,
yeah. And
more
I
and more and more.
and I'm using all of the material as much as I can each day. And when something arises, oh yeah, I remember someone Izzy said this. I read it in one of his books, or I go back and review, or maybe it's in a Korzybski book or a Wittman book, or just because I remember reading it and I apply it and go, yeah, that works.
Mhm.
So you begin to have all of these tools or functional skills that work, and
Yeah.
it's very empowering.
Hmm.
It is a real sense of deep confidence that's not regular confidence. It's sort of like you know it's going to work, so you know you have that available to you. So it gives you a certain sense of stability, I guess you could say, core stability within you. Yeah.
Yeah. Core stability.
Hmm.
So I would recommend anyone who wants to go to your Patreon, and it'll be in the description, check out Notebook 10. Some
Yeah.
parts are a little hard to read, they're a little less
Yeah.
legible, but I just find reading through that just really raises my awareness in the now.
Well, one thing I'm going to do when we get the wisdom book typed up, I'm going to send that book, notebook 10 to her to type. And
Great.
I'll assure her ahead of time, don't worry, do your
Good.
best. And then I'll go through it page by page and clean it up. So, because she's an engineer, she's very detailed. So she
Good.
might feel like, well, I don't know if I got that right. Don't worry about right. Just do the best you can. We'll figure it out. So I have to kind of let her know ahead of time on that one. Yeah, but we'll
Well,
get it in that format.
as we wrap up episode
Yeah,
6,
my goodness.
is there a message that you would like to share
I would,
with the universe right now, with our listeners, our brave
I,
listeners who are willing to go into the light?
I would just say, stick with it. Stick with it. Give it a full go. Sometimes people ask, well, how long will it be before I can feel that kind of a thing? You get that. Yeah, I say give it a minimum 2 years, the best you can.
Mm,
Give it 6 months. Just keep going and do it at the pace that you can do. You don't have to do it all day, every single second. It might be a goal to get to that,
mhm.
but do what you can every day. And if you notice the difference, keep it up, keep it going. What works for you may not work fully for me. You can share that with me and I'll share it with you. And let's just keep it going. And when you have that kind of experience, you're on your quote
Mhm.
path of life, and you find your some degree of purpose. It's very energizing to have a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
It could be very simple, it could be more complex. It could be a variety of things that all work together as a purpose, but you're definitely energized when you're doing something that's full of purpose on your path.
And my message would be just start practicing maintaining your poise, your
Yeah.
emotional equanimity, no matter what's happening, up, down. You just practice maintaining your emotional equanimity, and you'll find that that is so much more fulfilling than
Hmm. Yeah. That's the title of my next book, Bob.
wee.
You and me.
All right, Greg, thank
Okay,
you again.
I'm getting slap happy now. Okay.
It's always
Yeah.
so much fun
And
to
happy birthday again. I'm glad you got another year under your belt, I guess you could
yeah,
say.
yeah, under
Yeah.
my belt. Yeah. Well, anyway,
Okay.
it's such a delight
All
to
right.
interact with you, my friend of many decades and my brother in
Well,
the light, deeply connected at the soul level to the soul of Isidore. Thank you, Isidore Friedman,
yes, thank you so
making this
much.
possible.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day and
Okay.
see you soon. Adios,
Thank you.
amigo.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.